The role of an office is to provide support to the organisation and its customers. The office needs to be effective, efficient, and professional. Office services will typically include document production, audio transcription, data entry, photocopying and binding, travel arrangements, invoicing, bookkeeping, document control, filing, stationery issue and stock control, petty cash and expenses, room booking and appointments, reception, and dealing with all incoming and outgoing mail. There are three main types of legal requirements to consider when managing an office. These are health and safety, equality, and employment rights. The Equality Act of 2010 protects people from discrimination and incorporates the following previous legislation: the Sex Discrimination Act of 1975, the Race Relations Act of 1976, and the Disability Discrimination Act of 1995. Discrimination can be classified as direct discrimination, where, on racial grounds alone, a person is treated less favourably than others would be treated or is segregated. Indirect discrimination, where a requirement or condition is applied to all people, but it is a requirement with which very few people in a smaller racial group can comply with, and which the employer cannot show as justifiable. Harassment. This is unwanted behaviour linked to discrimination that violates someone's dignity or creates an offensive environment for them. Victimization. This is treating someone unfairly because they have complained about discrimination or harassment. The law also states that the fact that the discrimination was unintentional is not a defence. The following is a list of protected characteristics from discrimination. Age. Being or becoming a transsexual person. Being married or in a civil partnership. Being pregnant or having a child. Disability. Race, including colour, nationality, ethnic or national origin. Religion, belief, or lack of a religion or belief. Sex, and sexual orientation. Equality legislation affects buildings where there is general public access, and, in order to fulfill their obligations, organisations may, amongst other things, install ramps for wheelchair access, install door opening buttons, install lifts, include braille signage, fit a disabled toilet with wide access. Where any arrangements place an individual with a disability at a substantial disadvantage in comparison with individuals who are not disabled, the employer is legally obliged to make responsible adjustments, such as these above. This can also include adjustments to premises, altering working hours, and acquiring or modifying equipment that is required for their role. Other employment acts include the Employment Rights Act of 1996. This act protects against unfair dismissal and redundancy. It gives time off for parenting, enforces a minimum wage, and monitors conditions for agency workers. The Employment Relations Act of 2004 covers union membership and industrial action. The Working Time Regulations of 1998 protect you from being forced to work long hours. You cannot be forced to work more than an average of 48 hours, including overtime. Your employer must maintain records that show the hours you work. They can ask you to opt out of this agreement and ask you to work above this limit. It also allows employees to have 11 hours rest in every 24 hours worked and a rest period of 24 hours in every 7 days, a 20-minute break when working more than 6 hours, and 4 weeks paid holiday each year. Disciplinary and dismissal procedures within an organisation will cover how an employer should discipline or dismiss any employee. The employee must always have a right of appeal. An appeal or grievance procedure must also be put in place. Health and safety regulations that are relevant to offices include the reporting of injuries, disease and dangerous occurrences, RIDDOR 1992. The control of substances hazardous to health, COSH. The management of health and safety at work regulations. Workplace health, safety and welfare regulations. The health and safety display screen equipment regulation. The provision and use of work equipment regulation and electricity at work regulations. The office environment should be regularly reviewed with a view to risks and security arrangements. This review should regularly check for the following: trailing leads and power supply overload, wear, tear or damage to equipment and facilities. Stock storage complies with health and safety requirements, including hazardous substances. Adequate protective equipment, and that training provision for new equipment is given. Mandatory training, policies and regulations should be communicated to all staff members that work within the office environment. The following are ways of communicating the systems and procedures. Notices. These should be located near to the equipment. Staff handbook. Ideally issued to all staff. This is a good way of communicating standard and complex procedures. Equipment manuals, memos and emails. This is a quick method to provide new or updated information. An intranet could be provided. Induction and training sessions backed up by handout material may also be used.